Howdy guys, Radio Magic here. I hope you are all having a fantastic morning, day or evening, wherever you are on the planet, whatever you are up to. I'm really glad you guys can join us for some more Standard. I haven't played Standard in a while, so it's going to be interesting to see how this gets on. We'll be playing best of 3 Standard, since normally I play best of 1 Constructed. But I wasn't sure how to jump back into playing Standard, because I got really bored of it since it sort of got broken with well, just a load of the cards. I'm sure anyone keeping up with what's happening at the moment with Standard and just like Magic as a whole knows that it was broken for a little bit, but then the BNR announcement came round, and I've heard a lot of things from different people saying that it's fixed, it's so much better, it's interesting. I don't feel like I'm just getting pummeled by the same decks over and over again by Ramp. So I thought, do you know what? I'll give it a shot. So this isn't my list. This is a list I have found from the MTG Goldfish page, and I thought I would just throw one of their lists together because I don't know how I am constructing a list at this point. I've been playing far too much Limited. So yeah, this is Esper Doom Foretold, I guess. I'm going to put some timestamps in the description down below for the different matches and the wrap up at the end, as well as this intro, because I'm aware some people don't like watching the deck tech. They'd rather just get into some of the gameplay, since if you know what all of these cards do in front of you, then why do you need to hang around and watch me explain? But for those who don't know, what I'm going to do is quickly go through the list and just go over the cards real quick and talk about why they might be in the list, because I played Doom Foretold when it was originally released, but I haven't played Yorion Doom Foretold, so this is going to be a real treat for me. So yeah, if you guys are interested, if you just want to jump into the games, go to the timestamps in the description down below and you'll be able to find game number 1. So like I said, this is a Yorion list, which means we're playing Yorion as our companion, but we're also playing 3 copies of him in the main as well. So Yorion, essentially a companion, if you don't know, is something you can play with like a commander. If you're familiar with that format, it's outside the game. You can spend 3 generic mana to put that into your hand at sorcery speed throughout the game. And Yorion, his deck building constriction is that you must have 20 cards more than your minimum deck size. So this is just for people who don't know. I assume that's why you're still here. So essentially we're running an 80 card list, you can tell from at the top. So the cards on the list, obviously the list is a bit bigger, so it's only natural that we're going to need to fill it a little bit more, if that makes sense. Yeah, so it's a little bit less concise, a little bit less consistent, but you know what? There's a lot of cards in the deck that make it more consistent. So going through the list, on the 2-drop slot, we have 2 Glass Caskets. Essentially just removal, helps us survive later into the game. If we get it down on a creature and then our opponent puts out a better threat later on that we want to answer, we can blink it with Yorion. Since Yorion, when it ETBs, it exiles any number of non-land permanents you own, and then you get to return those at the beginning of the next end step. So Glass Casket works really well with that. Omen of the Sea is, I don't know what's happening here. Omen of the Sea, for a similar reason, when it ETBs, you get to scry 2 and draw a card, and then we can blink it later on with Yorion to draw more cards, and we can also sacrifice it to scry 2. And we'll see why we want to put some enchantments in the graveyard in a minute. We also have 2 Eliminates as well, just a little bit of spot removal, helping us survive until the late game, so we can cast our big powerful spells and start blinking our stuff for extra value. We also have 2 Heartless Acts as well. Again, same reason as Eliminate and Glass Casket, just things to keep us alive till the end game. I assume the reason that this is 2-2 split is because some matchups you're going to want Heartless Act and some matchups you're going to want Eliminate, so it's good to have a little bit of like balance between them. We also have a lot more removal going up the curve, so whatever Eliminate and Heartless Act and Glass Casket can't answer, our other cards can. Golden Egg is something that's always been a part of Doom Foretold, and we'll go over Doom Foretold in a minute, why we want some of these Glass Caskets, Omens and that, but Golden Egg sort of brings the whole deck together. It's just an ETB, draw a card, it can fix our mana, doesn't come up too often, but we are a 3-colour deck, so it might come up sometimes, and we can pay 2 and tap it to sacrifice it and gain free life, so a little bit relevant. So some of the reason we might want Golden Egg in our graveyard, along with Omen of the Sea and some of our other enchantments, is Dance of the Manse. This is not something that's normally played in great numbers, but in this list it's playing 2 of. So Dance of the Manse is Azorius and X, and then you can return up to X target artifacts and / or non-aura enchantment cards, with each converted mana cost X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If X is 6 or more, those permanents are 4/4 creatures in addition to their other types. So essentially, if we cast this for X equals 6, we can get up to 6 enchantments back from the graveyard or artifacts up to 6 with 6 converted mana cost or less. For example, we can get 2 Elspeth Conquers Deaths, 3 Omen of the Suns, and 1 Omen of the Sea, for example. And if we cast it for 6 or more, as well as them coming back as enchantments, they are also 4/4 creatures. So, yeah, essentially on your next turn, opponent, GG. That's normally how that works out. Equally, it's important to notice that you could cast Dance for 6 and only get back 1 or 2 enchantments or artifacts, and they'll still be 4/4 creatures. So there's a reason to cast this for 8 mana sometimes, even if you're not getting back the maximum number of them. We also have 1 Banishing Light. It's just a little bit of spot removal. It's going to answer anything in the format, essentially, but I'd assume there's a lot of ETBs going around at the moment, which is why we don't want tons of Banishing Lights. Omen of the Suns are essentially like similar to Omen of the Sea, same sort of cycle. It's the white one. They have flash, and when it ETBs, you get to create 2 1/1 human soldier tokens and it gains 2 life. All the omens can be sacrificed to scry 2. So this is going to give us some chump block fodder, and we can blink it Vurion to make more 2/2s, make more 1/1s that are 2 power in total, and gain us a little bit more life. So against mono red, it's going to throw some chump blockers in the way and gain us a little bit of extra life. So all good there. And then we have a relatively new card, not something I've played with yet, but Skyclave Apparition. So when it ETBs, you get to exile up to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with converted mana cost 4 or less. So essentially a removal spell when it enters. And then when it leaves the battlefield, the exile card's owner creates an XX blue illusion creature token, where X is the converted mana cost of the exiled card. So it's going to come down, it's going to remove a creature, and then if our opponent removes this, they get a little bit of value back. But we're normally not too worried about that because the token is 9 times out of 10 far less powerful than the thing we're going to exile with this. And our worst case scenario is a 2/2. Again, we can also blink this with Vurion, which is really useful. So we could bring it down and take out a Scavenging Ooze, for example. So Scavenging Ooze is a 2/2 that can exile things from graveyards and then get counters on it and gain life. So we could exile that and then blink this with Vurion, and then they would get a 2/2 back because it leaves the battlefield. But obviously it's far less powerful than Scavenging Ooze. And then when it re-enters in the end step, we get to exile another thing of theirs. But remember, this is non-token permanent, so we couldn't exile the token again. Because its converted mana cost would be 0, so you'd get to essentially just exile that creature for free. But you can't do that. And then we've got Elspeth's Nightmare. Elspeth's Nightmare is something that's very rarely a super card, but always a relevant card. You're either going to get some value off of one of these lore counters. Normally lore counter 1 and 2, but you can get it off the 3rd one. Some matchups you're going to get insane value off this, and you're going to hit... If you hit 2 lore counters on this, for example, you get to destroy a creature and duress your opponent, you're golden. Quite often or not, you go Elspeth Conquers Death on like 4, for example, and then play Yorion on 5, so you get to kill one of their creatures or not, and then you get to duress their hand or not, depending on which feature you wanted to use. And then Yorion will blink it, and you get to do them things again, which is just... Elspeth Conquers Death is one of them cards that's just... or Elspeth's Nightmare, sorry. It's one of them cards that's just... insanity. Like, it can be really good. Sometimes it's gonna slack a little bit, but it's worth playing for the games that it's not necessarily as good in. Treacherous Blessing, outstanding card in this list. You want to be careful with casting it too early in case you're going to get drained out. So against mono red and Gruel aggro, maybe Gruel landfall as well, you're gonna maybe take too much life loss from this. But as we'll see in a minute, Doom Foretold is very good at answering the Treacherous Blessing. Also, needless to say, you're probably seeing the synergy here. Yorion can blink this, and we can draw 3 more cards off of it. So yeah, like 3 mana to draw 3 cards, and then we get to draw 3 more later on for just playing our Yorion for free is mental. And yeah, literally mental. But Doom Foretold can get rid of this in a jiffy if we need to. And then we have our board wipe of choice, so you can go with Shatter the Sky or Extinction Event. This list is playing Extinction Event. There's a 4th one in the board. This just exile removal. If there's a load of Lurrus running around or people trying to give their stuff indestructible, that's not going to work. Extinction Event is going to answer that. Yes, you can't answer the entire board all of the time. You have to make a snap decision as to, am I going to do odd or even? But you don't have the clause of Shatter the Sky of our opponent drawing a card, which is a little bit pesky sometimes, but you know what, it's fine. And then we have the namesake card of the deck, apart from Yorion, Doom Foretold, a Orzhov and 2 enchantment that reads, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a non-land, non-token permanent. If that player can't, they discard a card, they lose 2 life, you draw a card, you gain 2 life, you create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance, and then you must sacrifice Doom Foretold. So essentially how this works is it's a symmetrical effect. Your opponent loses 2, you gain 2. They discard, you draw, and then you get a 2/2 knight as well. If you have to sacrifice Doom Foretold because you have no other permanents apart from Doom Foretold, obviously you don't have to discard a card because Doom Foretold will be the thing you sacrifice. This only works if your opponent has no non-token, non-land permanents out. Then they will have to do the symmetrical effect. But like I said, this is why we're running so many Golden Eggs, Omens, Elspeth Nightmares, Treacherous Blessing, just so we can have some sacrifice fodder, and then if we get to the very late game, we can get them all back with Dance of the Mance again, including our Doom Foretold, and do it all over again. What this deck wants to do is get to the late game and grind as much as possible. It's also worth noting that with our Elspeth Nightmare, the third Lord counter is exile each opponent. Is it each? Exile target opponent's graveyard. So with Doom Foretold, quite often or not, you're not going to care about the last loyalty law counter on the Elspeth's Nightmare. Same with Elspeth Conquers Death. There's not many creatures in this list, so you're not always going to have a target for it. So you can sacrifice it with the Doom Foretold before it gets to the final counter. So it goes law counter 1, then law counter 2, you play Doom Foretold on the same turn that law counter 2 comes down. You go to your third turn, upkeep triggers, Doom Foretold goes off because we know that law counters go on at the end of draw step instead, as you can see there. Doom Foretold will go first, and I will choose to sacrifice my Elspeth's Nightmare because I don't care about the exile graveyard clause, and then I just get a bit of free value, which is really nice. But yeah, the namesake card of the deck, Doom Foretold. Onto a more familiar card, Elspeth Conquers Death. This, to my knowledge, has just been an all-star since it was released. Very similar to the Eldest Reborn for people who played in a constructed meta with that available. There was a lot of speculation whether Elspeth Conquers Death would be as good as that, but it turns out the exile clause on it and the option to select what you exile is excellent. The second law counter comes up quite relevantly. 2 more non-creature spells your opponents cast cost 2 more to cast. Does actually come up more often than you would think. And then, like I said, you return target creature or planeswalker with an extra +1/+1 counter or loyalty counter. More often than not, our only creatures in the deck are Yorion and Skyclave, so it's going to be getting one of them back, which is good value. Don't mind getting my Yorion back and blinking everything again. So all good. The last card we have in the list is something new from the new set, the Emery's Call. It's essentially a double-faced card for people who don't know. On one side, you can cast a 7-mana sorcery that creates 2 4/4 White Angel Warrior tokens for flying, and then non-angel creatures you control get indestructible until your next turn. So it's important to notice that's not till the end of your turn. So if your opponent has some big boy, which you'll see later on, like a 13/13, and we have a 1/1, well, that 1/1 can block more than sufficiently and buy us a complete turn. And on top of that, we get 2 4/4 angels. So this card, while not inherently powerful by itself, it is a double-faced card, which means instead of that, we could choose to play the land side of it. And the land side will essentially bolt us. We must pay 3 life if we want it to enter untapped, or it can enter tapped at the cost of no life. So it's very flexible, and essentially it allows us to fill out a bit of our mana basis. So if we're flooding late game, we could top deck this, and essentially that would have been a land card, but now we have a 7-mana sorcery, which is more than sufficient. Yeah, definitely more powerful than some of the other cards in the list in the right situation. But the reason this card is so powerful is in the early game, you're going to want to play as a land. In the late game, you're going to want to play as a sorcery. Going over the mana basis just a little bit, we have a load of basics because we have our Fable Passages, we have a load of the Scrylands and a load of the Pathways as well, as you can see. If you're trying to make this on a budget, maybe, I don't know if I'd recommend that because there's quite a lot of rares in it and mythics, but maybe you can cut on some of the Pathways and stuff like that. I think that's more than sufficient to do whatever you want to. You can also just play this list in Orzhov. You can see that the only blue we're actually running in the list is Omen. There's a few cards in the sideboard as well, but you could just cut Omen of the Sea and play something else instead and play this as Orzhov, and that will save you quite a bit of rares and mythics on the mana basis. So just going over to the sideboard, because we are playing best of 3 this time, I'll walk over some of the cards. So we have Cling to Dust, which is our graveyard hate that can also be brought in the aggro matchups to gain us some life. If we're playing against the mirror matchup, it can also be good stopping our opponent's Elspeth Conquers Death, and just general bits that we might want to use. It's also a good late game. I say good, it's an alright late game card advantage engine. You're not going to bring it in for that, but might be useful when you're doing it. We also have Duress. I don't know what's up with my thing at the moment. I have to keep clicking off every time I want to go into a card. So Duress, pretty obvious. It's just our hand hate of choice. This is what we're bringing in when our opponent has a ton of non-creature spells that we might want them to discard before they can get to the point that they want to cast them. Maybe these are ultimatums or shark typhoons or whatever our opponent might have. But yeah, that's why Duress is in the list. Mystical Dispute, it's our counter spell of choice. 1 blue to counter a blue spell unless they pay 3, or we can pay the full price to counter any spell unless they pay 3. Pretty standard. Archon for our aggro matchups, or when we need additional threats. Since Constellation, there are no shortage of enchantments in this list. How many enchantments are we actually running in the list? We're running 23 enchantments. I think 8 of them are sagas, so yeah, there's a lot of triggers for Archon. And remember, Constellation is when an enchantment ETBs, not on cast. So when Yorion blinks them, Archon will get all of these triggers again. So yeah, very good card. This is something when I played originally, I played in the main because it was so strong. I did mention our 4th Extinction event. We also have 2 Shark Typhoons, yet another enchantment that we're running. Most of the time, you're going to want to just cycle this away to create an XX Shark creature token with flying and draw another card. It's essentially take your turn off, but you get a free Shark. Really, really good. We can get it back with Elspeth with Dance of the Manse later on in the game. Or it can just act as a superb win condition with you cast this down for 6 mana and then all of your spells will make sharks equal to their CMC, or all of your non-creature spells will make sharks, which is essentially bar, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards is our entire list. So yeah, definitely an excellent card, has been since it was released. And then we're running a 1 of Heliod's Intervention, which does exactly what it says on the tin. It's going to destroy X target artifacts or enchantments. So yeah, exactly what we want it for. There's no other reason you'd need this card. I am hesitant to bring this in the mono red matchup, though I think we play a mono red matchup. I can't remember. I would bring this in the mono red matchup, and just to sort of gain some life, but it depends on the player you are. Like sometimes you're going to think, nah, this isn't worth it. I'd rather just have a card that answers my opponent's things rather than just stalls the game for a bit longer. It's up to you. I don't know. Everyone's going to have their different preferences on this. But like I said, this is the list. I got this off of MTG Goldfish, just repeating myself a little bit. So if any of you guys like the list or other things like that, head over to there and maybe give that a check out since they have a ton of new stuff. Like I said, we're running this through a standard best of 3, so we'll see how the list does. There are timestamps, as I said before, in the description in case you want to skip ahead to matchups. Maybe you don't like the matchup that I'm playing and you want to see it in a different the deck perform differently. I think we're going to play like 3 or 4 games. We'll see how we get on. Remember that if you do enjoy the video, please drop it a like and subscribe. It really does mean a lot. I know, like, it's standard jabber at this point, like, oh yeah, thank you, please do this, please do that, but yeah, it does mean a lot. So thank you very much if you can be asked to do that. If not, I hope above anything else that you enjoy the gameplay. So let's see how we get on. Okay, Esper Doom Foretold in standard. We're going first, and yeah, this hand is fine. Some card selection with Omened. We've got our Skyclave Apparition and Doom Foretold. Looks pretty good. Probably going to start with Temple, since we have things to do up the curve. I think I'm in need of untapped lands. So the next few turns are pretty scripted. Opponent has a Lotus Cobra. Okay, I don't think we need more lands at the moment. We can work up to Emery's Call, but I'm sure we'll draw lands in the meantime. So, probably just going to get rid of this for the Apparition, stop our opponent from accelerating. And then if our opponent plays like a single threat next turn, we can Doom Foretold that away. Opponent has another one. I think I just like Scryland Elspeth's Nightmare here. Just take out that. Omen. Yeah, I think Omen's fine. Maybe it's correct to dig for something more impactful. But I think once Yorion gets going, Omen will be fine. Okay, so let's have a look at the opponent's hand. Oh, Ultimatum, they've got Obosh and Terror. So opponent's a little bit off doing something. I don't really want to play Doom Foretold just into nothing. So I think what we're going to do is just play land and pass. Yeah, I think it might have been correct to bottom the Omen, knowing what our opponent's on now. I thought they were on a slightly faster deck. So we're probably going to just Doom Foretold here. Yep. It's going to make our humans start pressuring the opponent a bit. We'll get their graveyard. So we're not going to be able to attack here, but we will be able to play our Doom Foretold. It's going to prevent our opponent from making a relevant play next turn as well. And we are just going to sacrifice our Omen of the Sun. So we'll probably just see the opponent pass here. We're going to go digging for a land. And yeah, Omen of the Sun's going to be sacrificed here. So let's go to combat. So not the fastest clock. I decided to sacrifice the Omen of the Sun instead of Omen of the Sea because I think the card advantage is going to be better with the Yorion than the extra 2 damage and pressure. We only need to blink one thing. And we'll go digging for a land now. Banishing Light. I don't think we need Banishing Light. I'd rather just dig for more ways to draw cards. Treacherous Blessing's really good. Okay, so we are building the pressure here. So let's Treacherous Blessing, see if we find an answer. So had we have kept the Banishing Light on top, we would have had lethal. But luckily we found a Heartless Act, so we still have lethal. There we have it. Game 1, Esper Doom Foretold. So how do we want to sideboard against this? So our opponent's on like the combo list. I haven't played Standard in a while. What are we looking at? I don't know how we're boarding against this. So they want to Ultimatum and put like Terror of the Peaks into play along with a load of other stuff. So I guess we're going to want Mystical Disputes. Duresses seem good. I don't think Glass Casket's going to be too relevant. They do have Lotus Cobras. I think that's fine. I'm going to get rid of Dance of the Manse. I'm really not sure. I don't want to take out too many of our answers to Lotus Cobra. I'm just cutting like that. We brought in the Mystical Disputes. Yeah, Eliminate's not going to be able to hit many of their creatures, but Heartless Act will. Yeah, I think that's fine. Like, there's probably better things we could have done. We could bring in Shark Typhoon if we wanted to have a more like reliable win condition, or Extinction Event if we were really worried about their creatures. But we'll have a look, see what they're doing game 2. I'm not too familiar with this list. I assume we just want to counter their Ultimatum. Okay, all of our colours of mana. Duress to start, Omen, and then more Hand Hate with Elspeth's Nightmare. I really like it. Let's keep this. Perfectly reasonable. Let's have a look what our opponent's working with. Negate, Genesis. I think we're just going to take Negate. The Elspeth's Nightmare will be able to take the Genesis Ultimatum, and our opponent essentially has nothing happening now. Yeah, we're gonna just play Omen this turn. Hopefully our opponent plays like a Lotus Cobra here, that we can get some value off the Elspeth's Nightmare. Dance and Banishing Light. I don't think we're going to Dance. We'll keep Banishing Light. Have an answer to something our opponent's doing. Just going to get this out there and take that Ultimatum. 3 mana, suspend 1 Duress. Nice. Yep, so they have a Terror. What do we want to do here? Probably just play land, put Yorion into our hand. We don't need second Yorion. And we have quite a few answers. We can stop what our opponent's doing. So what, probably just going to Banishing Light this away. Yeah, Banishing Light and Omen. And Egg is fine. Oh, does our opponent have a Mystical Dispute? It's not going to matter because Banishing Light's white, but you never know. Let's take that Terror. So we have many a way to answer this Beanstalk Giant. Say many a way. We have a Heartless Act. Opponent decides to do nothing. They could have cast Beanstalk Giant, but I assume they're just not going to. I'm not sure why. Maybe they have a counterspell for the Orion. I think I'm fine just playing this into a counterspell. Yep. Since we have an answer to it, the Beanstalk Giant, and we have Emery's Call. I'm just gonna waste no time with this. And if we ever find another Yorion, it should just close the game. So opponent has 1 card in hand. We are running out of gas. Slowly. I think I'm happy with a redraw. It's more stuff for when we top deck our Yorion. Maybe it's correct just to Emery's Call there, but I think that's fine. I think we're going to be sacking an Omen here as well. We'll do this now. Yorion's fine, and we can do both. So I don't know if our opponent's going to have a counter spell here. Ah, crap. The way, yeah, we don't draw from that. So I think we're just going to... God, it has been a while since I played with these. Assuming it was the other effect. Okay, so our opponent's Mystical Disputing. Hopefully that means they're not going to have an answer to our Yorion. So next turn's pretty scripted. So had I have known it went the other way, I'd have put Omen probably on the bottom and just Yorion on top and just played Yorion. But we're just gonna play Yorion here. I'm gonna play Omen first. There was no pause, so I assume our opponent doesn't have a counterspell. And that should be enough. Don't need any of these. Second Urion's fine. You can just do all of that again. Okay, so Ultimatum here. Ooh. They are both odd. So I think we're just going to Extinction Event. Waste no time with that. Yeah, unfortunately they are both odd. We have to lose our Urion in the process, but I think that is well worth it. And then we're probably just going to follow up with Treacherous Blessing. And then we can Urion next turn if we haven't found any other goodies. Not exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so we're hoping we can just sort of close the game relatively quickly now before our opponent can get another Ultimatum. Maybe get a load of stuff off the top with a Terror as well. Yeah, okay, so here goes next Ultimatum. We've got to really hope our opponent doesn't hit a Terror of the Peaks. Like Beanstalk Giant. Oh, is that dead? Not quite. Almost dead. Well, it's what, 13 damage? I mean, we could be dead here. I think, no, we are dead. We can gain life with the egg, so I think we're not just dead. But we are, like, hanging in. Oh, no, yeah. Good chance we are just KO'd here. Yep. How much damage is that? No, wait, that's just 3 more damage, isn't it? Oh, no, because they all trigger. Yeah, sure. No, yeah. Oh. So, a bit slow on the win con with closing the game there. Maybe we need to speed that up a little bit. I don't think Elspeth Conquers Death is going to be too good in this matchup. Maybe we just want Archons. I could see Archons being good. It's going to allow us to close the game a little bit faster. Shark Typhoon might be a little bit overkill. And we have the Duresses, so we don't need extra Elspeth's Nightmares. I don't think we need that much hand hate. We want to pick it apart at the beginning, but after that, typically don't want it. Okay, going first. Yeah, this hand's fine. We're going to have to shock ourselves or bolt ourselves with the Emery's Call, I think, so we can play Omen on curve. But we're gonna keep. Hopefully, the Mystical Dispute's going to be enough interaction. How do we feel about Doom Foretold? I think we just want to hit lands, don't we? But then we're not doing anything else. I think with a 2-lander, it'd be silly to keep Doom Foretold on top. The Omen's probably going to find us lands, but if we see 2 non-lands from the Omen, that's going to be really painful. So we're gonna bolt here, I think, just to make sure we can do our Omen. Yeah, that's fine. So I really want to hit an untapped land here. White land would be great. It is not. It is. So we're going to hopefully try and slow our opponent down a little bit here. Same play as game 1. Okay, just a Beanstalk Giant. So I think I like put Yorion into our hand. Maybe it's just play Omen, play Mystical Dispute maybe. Or we could Heartless Act, have Mystical Dispute. I don't think, yeah, I think I'm going to go down the route of Omen, Mystical Dispute first. Yeah, I think that's fine. Another Mystical Dispute is nice. So hopefully we have enough here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna... Yeah. Just so we can do it on a non-blue spell if we wanted to. Because I think we probably would counter a Terror of the Peaks, since we had to use the Heartless Act on the Elder Gargroth. Yeah, I think we are going to stop that. So our opponent probably doesn't have a Mystical Dispute in hand. I was there to play their land first. We're going to try and close this game as soon as we can. I think now we're going to put Yorion into our hand. We need Golden Egg. So we should be able to stop a Genesis Ultimatum. Opponent didn't sack Fatal Passage. It might mean they've got a Genesis Ultimatum and they want to hit more lands. Or it was a tap land. Yep. So I can only imagine that our opponent's last card is Genesis Ultimatum. So I think I'm fine to full attack here. If our opponent wants to trade the Skyclave Apparition, I think that's fine. Since they don't get the Lotus Cobra back anyway. They'll just get a 2/2. I don't want our opponent to be able to accelerate mana. With Genesis Ultimatum, if they hit a load of lands off the top with Lotus Cobra, that's going to feel really painful. And this should be lethal next turn. If our opponent taps out for a Genesis Ultimatum, we should have it there. Should have possibly left double blue open. Yeah, I don't think we need... We have Heartless Act. It's an answer to the token. Okay, so opponent's just tapping down for a Beanstalk Giant. So that should... I guess not. Though it's not looking good for our opponent. We got to survive one more turn unless we top deck a removal spell. Nope, but with double Mystical Dispute, I feel pretty good about our position. Yep. So our opponent's probably just digging for an answer to the Yorion here. I'm not sure, like Terror of the Peaks can buy them a turn. Yep. And that should be game. Yep, there we go. So managed to bring it home with Esper Doom Foretold. Let's see how we get on in the next one. Okay, I think this is a pretty hard mulligan. So we're missing blue mana. I think this has to be a mulligan again. I mean, we have 2 removal spells. We don't know what our opponent's up against. If our opponent's on the creature plan, this might be okay. I think we're going to have to mulligan this away again. No lands. I guess we'll keep this. The... This way we have... I guess we're going to be glass casketing on 2... The golden egg gives us a redraw, so we can possibly hit another land and some sack fodder for the Doom Foretold, and the glass casket will hopefully buy us enough time. Feels bad having to mulligan twice. Unfortunately, we don't know what we're against at this point. So in case we hit untap land next turn, we'll play the Temple of Enlightenment now. We really need to just hit lands. Oh, what are we against? Clerics? Nice. Okay, so we're going to take a bit of damage here, but fortunately the glass casket can at least answer this Cleric of Life's Bond. It's my first time seeing him showing up in Standard. Maybe not diversifying their threats enough here. No, I don't think we need another one of them. Let's keep trying to hit lands. So we need to keep our opponent's devotion down if possible. I think we can do that with Elspeth's Nightmare. Fortunately, we are still hitting lands. Second Doom Foretold? Yeah, second Doom Foretold I'm in for. Because we'll play one next turn and we'll sacrifice our Elspeth Nightmare as they have to get rid of the Heliod. And then we'll go with Golden Egg. Hopefully find some more fodder. I can imagine they sacrifice the Heliod. Let's have a look at your hand, opponent. What have you got? Yep. We could even, if they sacrifice the Heliod, sacrifice Glass Casket and then just cast Extinction Event, getting rid of them both. They didn't decide to take that route though. Yep, looked maybe a little bit hopeless for our opponent. Okay, so what, Clerics? Maybe we just want the board wipe. If there's a lot of counter shenanigans, we might not want the Heartless Acts. That could be strong. I feel like this game's going to be decided relatively early if we can stabilize the board. Probably. Maybe we just want the Helions and we'll take out the Heartless Acts. And maybe the Elspeth's Nightmare. Our opponent's creatures are going to grow pretty quick. The only thing I'm deciding to put in or not is the Shark Typhoons, but I think that's fine. Okay, so we're going into game 2 now against our Clerics opponent. Let's see what secret weaponry they've brought in. I think this hand is reasonable. The problem with this hand is we don't have any interaction, so we might fold to a fast start from them, but I'm willing to keep this. Hopefully Omen can find us some interaction. Clerics, the Clerics deck might be the main way of killing us, might be relatively quickly, in which case we actually just need to mulligan this away for early interaction. That makes me feel a little bit better. We can just sack this now. Probably shouldn't have wasted our opponent's time and just done it straight away. So if we can make it to Extinction Event, I think we're good. So we see the Cleric of Life spawned again. Elspeth's Nightmare is going to be a way to answer Heliod, but we have Doom Foretold for that. And we top decked the second one anyway. So probably just going to play one of these out now, pass the turn, and fingers crossed we can untap. If we can untap, then I think we're in a good shape. Yeah, I think we're having basically a repeat of game similar of the last game. Our opponent took an extra turn to play the Cleric of Life's Bond, which is giving us time to... So I think we just Extinction Event on even here. So Doom Foretold, they just sacrifice what? Elsaid. And then we still take a ton of damage. We just want to mitigate the damage we're taking at this moment in time. And lower that devotion. So our opponent was on 4 devotion. And then we'll see what our opponent does, but we could just be Elspeth Conquering Death this turn and then Yorioning. There's definitely a world in which our opponent can get enough devotion for Heliod here. And then we're taking, what, 6? Opponent's on, what, like 3 devotion last turn? Yeah, I think we just take out the Heliod, and then we're taking 4. We could get the Doom Foretold train running. I think I like Elspeth Conquers Death, and then next turn we can Doom Foretold and Glass Casket. It's quite possible that our opponent has another Heliod in hand. Opponent's going to give it pro white. So it takes off the immediate pressure for us. 1 less damage. We actually need to be really careful though, since we are taking quite a bit of damage. I think we're going to be able to just pull ourselves across the finish line. I presume our opponent's going to sacrifice Heliod here. I don't think they want to lose their pressure on board. And it's really unlikely they're going to get enough devotion. Have a second one. Ooh, opponent. So we have nothing to return, so we're just going to sacrifice Elspeth Conquers Death. Oh, that was a fantastic draw. Yeah, let's just put this into our hand. And I guess we'll play out land. We're only a single white source away from being able to play this Emery's Call, and it should close the game pretty quickly. Yeah, this feels like a rough matchup for our opponent. They got us all the way down to 7, quite close, but I think we're going to be able to turn the corner here. Yeah, I think we're still hedging our bets on being able to... I'm just going to cast a Yorion for like no value. Just to add some pressure to the board. So our opponent's going to lower their own life total for us. So our opponent's playing like an interesting list, playing some of the lands that gain them life. They're playing Emery's Call, Sajiri's Shelter, and some Pathways. It's like a life gain Clerics list. Ooh. Okay. So we'd really like to find one for ourselves, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So I think we're just on the pass. We actually might be in a bit of danger here. If our opponent's got a shelter in hand and can give these pro to get through, we might be in a bit of trouble. Opponent's done a really good job of buffering their life total. Ooh, okay. Now we are talking. Okay, so maybe we should have played this out then. So I think we just have to pass it. So if our opponent can give both these angels pro, then we are out of it. There's one. And there's two. So they gave white in the first one, yeah. Protection from white. Protection from white, yep. Happy to concede to that. Yeah, I think we struggled to find a way to close the game at the end there. Managed to grind through, but couldn't quite close it out. I think we're going to bring in some Shark Typhoons. I don't know what we're cutting. I think I like not bringing in the Heartless Acts. Let's cut a Dance to bring in both Shark Typhoons. Okay, so we're going to go first this time, and let's see if we can bring it home. This hand looks excellent. So we have a way to slow down our opponent and just tons of card draw. This feels like if we can survive the early onslaught, we should be okay. Yeah. Happy with an Extinction Event. More than happy. Okay, tap land for our opponent. Even happier with that. So probably going to refrain from casting. Yeah, we'll let our opponent low. They're probably going to take Treacherous Blessing or Extinction Event here. As I was saying, I was just about to say, I think we're going to refrain from casting the Treacherous Blessing, so we don't go to discard or wait till we empty a bit of our hand first. But our opponent might make that decision just a lot easier for us. No, opponent's going to take Extinction Event. I think that's probably right. I like that our opponent hasn't contributed to the board yet, and I think Archon looks okay. So I think we're just going to play out Home in here, then Archon, and we miss out on a 2-2. Okay, well, our opponent's just going to probably take this Archon anyway. That is fine. Shame, but our opponent hasn't contributed to the board, so hopefully they're out of hand hate now. So our opponent exiled our threats, so there's no point. We'll just set up more for the Yorion when we find it. Yeah, we're just going to keep setting up for Yorion. The more enchantments we slam now, the better our Yorion will be later on. And our opponent isn't really in the colours to answer these. They have done a really good job of answering our threats, though. But it's going into our turn 5, and they haven't put anything on the board yet. So let's go to combat. I think we're just going to Treacherous Blessing. Our opponent's already cast 2 hand hate spells. They might have more, but we'll have to take that risk. And I think we're not going to be casting Emery's Call, so we'll just play this out. And we won't make the mistake of playing it too late. I don't know, last game, was it right to hold it in hand since there was no real benefit to playing it? Maybe it was right just to play it tapped instead of shocking, since we know that if our opponent could give double pro, it was over. Just happy with Doom Foretold here, I guess. I don't think we need to Glass Casket, since we're probably just going to sack an Omen of the Sea. I think next turn we're just casting a Shark Typhoon. Yeah, it seems like the right choice. So if our opponent can't answer the Shark Typhoon, we are gonna win the game quite quickly. Our opponent is losing life pretty quickly. They're almost dead. Oh, nice. Oh, even better. Our opponent's going to get it back now. Oh, okay, so whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player. Okay, so they never deal combat damage to us. It's always mitigated, but they gain the life. So all of their creatures have lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, if you have at least 15 or more than your starting life total, we lose the game. Well, if we didn't have a Elspeth Conquers Death, that would have been really good. Unfortunately, though, opponent, we have double removal spell. We actually have a quadruple removal spell. So our opponent is in a rough position now. They need a destroy all non-land permanents. Nice. Don't think it's going to be enough though. Yeah, Elspeth Knightsmare as well. We could just attack around this, but our opponent played well, but I think Clerics may not be the best matchup against Doom Foretold. But that's fine. Let's see how we get on the next one. So this hand looks a little bit sketchy. We don't have any white mana. We don't know who we're against. They haven't got a companion. We don't have any white mana, but if we find any land... sorry, we don't have any blue mana, but if we find any land, we can play Treacherous Blessing. And I think this is a key. I'm going to hold on to this. This is iffy. It might have been a mulligan, but... this is going to be one of them games. If we're against a creature matchup, this hand is excellent. If we're not against a creature matchup, then not so much. Let's see how try-hard our opponent is. The answer is fairy. I don't know. I think I would wait to break the Evolving Wilds as well. It might influence your first decision. Okay, so red. What we landfall then? Landfall it is. So we really need to hit our land drops now. Before it was yeah, let's hit our land drops, but now it is if we miss a land drop, we are probably dead. Hello, opponent. Okay, Lovestruck Beast. Or the adventure side of it. Heart's Desire. Not hitting land drop, but we do get a extra roll. I'm just going to stomp off phase. Oh, can't even cast the Omen. This is going to be rough. Really need to hit land. Land it is. So we could cast Skyclave's Apparition to sort of guarantee the Lovestruck Beast can't attack, but I think I'm happy to take a turn to just use the Elspeth's Nightmare. While our opponent still has cards in their hand, we might be able to hit something. And if our opponent decides to go Bone Crusher Giant this turn, we might get some extra value with the Extinction event. So step one, now we just need to hit land. Nope. Fortunately, our opponent couldn't attack though. Oh, opponent's going to concede, not even let us look at their hand. What do they have, an Embercleave? I can only imagine so. So, what do we want? I think we want the board wipe. So this is going to be survive the onslaught and see if we can get there. So they have Embercleave. That's a given. I think we're going to have to close the game quickly. We'll bring in the Shark Typhoons. This is not going to be a grindy game, I don't think. And yeah, we'll cut a Treacherous Blessing. I think we want to maximize as much removal as possible. We might even want the Archon. Yeah, I could see bringing in the Archons. We'll cut one of these. And maybe trim an Omen. It feels wrong trimming an Omen. Yeah, it's going to be... Yeah, let's cut an Omen. So we're now on the draw instead, and I think we're going to keep this hand. So our opponent decided to concede last game instead of letting us see their hand, even though they were in a relatively good position, easily a winnable position. So the only thing I can think they have is Great Henge or Embercleave. But they could have some extra spice. Scavenging Ooze. So we're probably going to consume that ooze as soon as we can. Kind of happy we cut Dance. That might have been what our opponent had as well. Extinction event is good. Do we want to shock ourselves for Emery's Call? We have one in hand. I don't think so. I think we are going to shock ourselves here just so we can do something. Bolt ourselves even. Do you want to give our opponent the... I think we'll just take the Scavenging Ooze. So our opponent gets to add a mana to their mana pool. So they potentially have 5 mana now. Brontodon, I like it. So Clothis hasn't got any good targets at the moment. Do we just Skyclave Apparition again? So if we target the Thrashing Brontodon, they will sacrifice it in response to destroy the Omen. But if we don't do that, then we can't attack. And it also sort of clears up Elspeth, Nightmares, and Doom Foretold future targets. It also means that we won't, if they destroy the Apparition later on, it should be fine. I'm going to go get our Black Source. As in, obviously it won't give them back A 2/2 or a 3/3 token. It means we can get in damage in the meantime. Ah, so opponent gets to shock us here. Questing Beast it is. Really hoping for a land here. I was really hoping for an untapped land there. So I think we just have to Extinction Event on even. Golden Egg's going to be too slow. So if our opponent has another Questing Beast here, we are in serious trouble. Opponent does not. So I don't think we're going to waste any time. We're just going to Elspeth Conquers Death here. I guess we could have Doom Foretold. That would have been effective as well. I'd really like to stop this passive damage that they're dealing. We haven't got anything to get back yet. Klothos has done a good job of stopping us from doing that. So we're in by no means out of the woods. Our opponent could certainly have some hasty threats that can kill us. Our deck not great at answering Questing Beast. Opponent just deciding if they'd like to respond. I'm not sure what our opponent could have here. Maybe a Bone Crusher Giant? They are about to run out of time though. Let's skip their turn. I'm not sure what our opponent's got to make a decision about. It looks like they're hovering over the Klothos. Hopefully our opponent isn't just salty that they might be losing. I really hope that they're okay. Either way, they're skipping their turn now. I don't think it's going to pass priority back to our opponent. So it's going to attack through. Even if our opponent did have a Bone Crusher Giant there, I think we still attack. They can obviously shock the Skyclave Apparition, get the 2/2, and then kill the other one. But then it gives us some Elspeth Conquers Death targets. See if our opponent hasn't left their computer. I think in these sort of situations, it's difficult to tell if your opponent's salty or if their computer's crashed or something's happening around them at the moment in the real world that stop them from being able to play. I think you should just give them the benefit of the doubt, assume that they're not doing it to antagonize you. Opponent is about to skip their turn, unfortunately. It's disappointing. I thought they had us on the ropes. I thought this was quite a balanced game, but if they're about to skip their turn, then I think that's probably definitely done. Yeah. So, shame our opponent disconnected there, or whatever happened, but I think that was an accurate representation of how this landfall Gruel list goes. Okay, so we don't know who we are against, what deck they have. This hand is like slow, but we have some interaction with Skyclave, so I think we're going to keep. No, we're not going to keep this. That's far too slow. So we're going to keep this. This is very, very dodgy, but we're just going to hope to draw blue source. And let's see. Whoa, it's a nice land. So we just basically need to find a blue source and we should be okay. Are we ditching a land still? I think we can't be too fussy. Since if our opponent's on a creature deck, then Glass Casket's going to be good anyway. Looks like they are. But yeah, blue sources gonna make or break this game. Do you know what? Sometimes you gotta be a little bit risky. It doesn't pay off. It doesn't pay off. What are you gonna do? Okay, so second Dorat. I don't think we need to bolt ourselves to game 2. So our opponent's just gonna, I assume, cycle a load of cards here. So opponent's like really likely to have a counter spell, but we're gonna go for it anyway. Opponent does not have a counter spell. So they're gonna get back their other Dorat, and I think I am gonna give that to them. Because then the Doom Foretold can answer again. So opponent's blinking. Have a shock. Yep. So it looks like we might get burnt out here. Yeah, probably shouldn't have kept a hand with double omen with no lands, or no blue lands. So falling to 1, if our opponent has any interaction, we are dead. Oh yeah, so of course they just flash in Brazen Borrow in response. Opponent knows what they're doing. No fooling them. So what do we want against this? I guess Duresses maybe? I don't think we're going to want Dance. I assume our opponent's going to have counter spells after board. Heartless Act doesn't feel too good against Dorat, but might be good against the other threats. Maybe we just want Archons. It's a way to sort of block what they're doing, buy us a bit of time. We could want the Extinction event as well, but I want to overboard. So going first, we have Heartless Act and Eliminate, so both are removal spells, but again, we are missing blue, but YOLO! Let's see how we get on. I think if you were playing, yeah, maybe this was certainly a mulligan. I think it's fine to miss a few land drops when we've got Eliminate and Heartless Act. We should be able to buy ourselves quite a bit of time. So our opponent might be missing land drops as well. So yeah, we got super lucky, and no, we're not going to put Urine into our hand. We're going to probably be going to discard if our opponent doesn't play anything and we don't top deck land. Our opponent's playing as if they are also caught on mana. And we're going to Heartless at this now before it gets any counters on it. So can't be too disappointed. Since we already drew 1 land, if we draw a second land, then a double Doom Foretold should hopefully get us across the finish line. Nice. Yep. What do you want? Probably double white. So our opponent can't Brazen Borrow it this time. We're going to have to sacrifice our own Doom Foretold, but I think it's fine just to trade them off. Opponent's just going to shock. Let's just get that down again. So yeah, the plan's probably here just to Omen, so we have something to sacrifice this time. And then Doom Foretold next turn. Opponent's going to try and burn us out. The other play could have been to eliminate there. No, it couldn't have been to eliminate since its CMC is too high. So our opponent could have the Brazen Borrower. But we're gonna go to combat. If our opponent has it, they have it. So they don't. Okay, I feel like I don't mind our position now. So our opponent's hope, so their plan is to outplay this Doom Foretold, I guess. We're going to try and get, because we haven't got much Doom Foretold fodder, we're going to try and keep it around in case our opponent decides to make another play next turn. Since I think it benefits us in the long run. But yeah, our opponent's just going to let it happen here. Strange, our opponent played the Bone Crusher Giant into the Doom Foretold. So probably just blinking your blinking Elspeth Conquer's Death here. Yep, I think that's enough. So we kept two really risky hands. I think I'm just gonna We kept two really risky hands with low lands, and one of them paid off, one of them didn't pay off, but going into game 3, we will attempt this to the best of our ability and see how we get on. And sometimes you've just got to pray to the magic gods and hope. See, this is a more reasonable hand. We have all of our colours, some scry lands. Yeah, we'll keep this. We have a few ways to answer our opponent's Dorat. No, we'll put it on the bottom. We have more than enough turns to draw lands. Yeah, I think we'll play our lands still. Tap lands just to get them out of the way. Nice. So I've only got like an opt or something. Crash through some really good value. So we're probably just gonna Elspeth's Nightmare here. Set up the Duress next turn. And then if we follow that up with Doom Foretold, we've got something to sacrifice since we don't really care about exiling our opponent's graveyard. Elspeth Nightmare is just one of them cards that, like, it normally does something okay. Okay, so our opponent's just gonna... It does something most games. But you get them occasional games where you get really good value out of both sides of it. Since, like, it's guaranteed to do something. Counter target instant or sorcery spell. So just take the pump spell. So our opponent's in a bit of a sticky situation now. We just are in a position where we just get to keep playing out our threats. We're gonna just pass the... let's put... I don't think there's any reason not to put Yorion into our hand here. We just have a full grip at the moment. I think this is the problem for our opponent's deck. They wanna tempo us out, which is a really good play a lot of the time. But if you can survive the initial attack, normally in a favourable position to take over. Yeah, I think we're gonna keep both of them actually. I see no reason why not. So So we could have Heartless Act now to... We have second Archon. If they want to 2-for-1 themselves here, I think that's okay. So we could have just done it last turn to attack for 2, but I'm not too fussed. I don't think the 2 damage is going to come back to haunt us. Okay, so we get to go on the draw. This hand has a bit of white in it with no white sources. We have the Eliminate early, and opponent's on Luris. So if they're on the Spirit Core Dancer deck, the Aura deck, then this Eliminate's going to work out really well, as long as the Elspeth's Nightmare. And Extinction Event for that matter. So I think we're going to keep... It is risky because we have 2 double white cards with no white sources, but I think it's worth the risk. The Omen makes the hand a lot better. Okay. So I'm not going to eliminate if we don't have to here, but because I'd rather Omen to find our land, but we'll hold up Eliminate just in case. I think we... Yeah. I think we'll just Omen in our turn then. Ah, okay, so indestructible. And we take a bit more damage. Unfortunately, it is a tap land, but a tap land is better than no land. Opponent only has a few cards left, and Elspeth's Nightmare is going to essentially do nothing now. So the plan is to Omen looking for an untapped land so we can Extinction Event. And then no amount of Karametra's Blessings are going to get around that. Opponent has something. Untapped land? Yeah, untapped land. Could have really done with a white source, but... Extinction Event's really good. Okay, so if we can find white mana, I like our position. Opponent's just going to put Luris into the hand. That counts as white mana. One use of white mana. I think I like Heartless Act. It's a little bit awkward since we should probably be digging for just lands in general, but it's going to be able to answer this Luris. Since I assume they just play Luris and then play oh no, they're not going to. They're going to play Sentinel's Eyes. So I assume we're just playing a Doom Foretold here. Well, I guess they can just sacrifice Sentinel's Eyes, so it's not that great. We could just Extinction Event. If we had another white source, we could of Elspeth Conquers Death, since I'd imagine, since they're playing Luris as their companion, they don't have any other targets for it. But unfortunately, I don't think that's the case, so we're just going to Extinction Event, since it's quite likely they have a Karametra's Blessing, since the way they played that. Yeah. But that's our opponent's late game gone. And they spent 2 turns setting that up, so just got to find white mana. And there we go. Yeah, we have Omen of the Sea and Golden Egg. I like that. And I think if our plan is to play Yorion next turn, we'll just play Elspeth's Nightmare now. That way we can blink it again, so we get to duress our opponent's hand, and then if they play a threat out, we can kill the threat, and then we get another duress in the next turn as well. Castle Ardenvale is going to be a little bit tough to answer. You have to put out some blockers. So we get to look at our opponent's hand here. See what they're working with. So these essentially do nothing. All that glitters does a little bit. But the Karametra's Blessing is going to be able to save it. So we'll just take that. And then I think we're in a pretty golden position now. Definitely want that plains, and I don't think we want another one of these since we... Yeah. Well, I mean, it's going to answer pretty much anything our opponent plays, actually. And it blocks the Castle Ardenvale tokens. So our opponent can double spell here to take down the Orion. I think they're just trying to pull themselves across here. So I don't know if our opponent's going to try and empty their hand. So this Elspeth's Nightmare doesn't hit it. Do we care about our opponent discarding the Hateful Eidolon? Probably not. Do we still want to just play Doom Foretold out? Just to get an extra Vigilance blocker, maybe, yeah. I guess we can't. We can if we want to sacrifice Egg, but I don't think I do want to sacrifice Egg. I think you can really feel it when you haven't played Constructed in a while. We've been predominantly focusing on Limited. So we're going to take 2 here. So 7 mana available to us. You can just Yorion Heartless Act. Is that good enough? Or we could Skyclave and Heartless Act, which I think I prefer actually. Maybe I prefer Doom Foretold actually and Skyclave. No, we're going to Heartless Act instead. So our opponent can't sacrifice the Sentinel Eyes. Kind of want to get some more bits in our graveyard for Dance of the Mance as well. So I think we're really close to getting it, bringing it home. And the Doom Foretold's either going to force our opponent to just take a few turns off to get rid of it, or they're going to try and play through it, in which case we get to remove one of their things each turn. But obviously it's building for Dance of the Mance for us, so every Doom Foretold trigger is getting better. Nice. So we are quite close to dead. So So probably just going to take Hateful Eidolon here and then play Yorion, and then we have more than enough blockers. We also get to gain 2 life and get the Knight from the Doom Foretold. Okay, so opponent's going to stop that. So if we dance for 4, if we wanted to, we could get back just Elspeth's Nightmare and Golden Egg. I think Yorion's still better. No point to bounce the Skyclave since this is hexproof. So presumably our opponent's going to sacrifice the Sentinel's Eyes here. They get to replay it. It's 2, yeah. They're pretty close to replaying it. So we're actually really close to death. They get to replay it here, but we're not just dead. We're falling to 1. If our opponent chooses to attack. So yeah, let's fall to 1. So we need to be really careful about how we play these next few turns. I think we're just going to dance, actually. How much are we dancing for? So we can get 3 things back, but we could do it for 6 anyway, so we can make them all creatures. Or we could just make 2 4/4 angels and give Urian indestructible. So I think if we do this for 6, we can gain life at the same time. So I think we're going to do that. Feels like a little bit of a waste, but the Golden Egg gives us the ability to gain life if we want to. We also just put out a load of creatures. Yeah, let's destroy this. And then we'll start to try and close the game as quickly as we can. So we're going to go up to 3 here, and we have the potential to go up to 6 if we'd like to. But we should be able to end the game pretty quickly with a load of 4/4s. And I'd imagine that'll be game. Yep. So our opponent got us real close there. We fell to 1 for a portion of time. We probably could have closed that game away quite a bit quicker, but faffing around is what we do. So we're bringing in our Cling to Dust, our Graveyard Hay. Extinction Event felt really good there. Our opponent doesn't have a solid answer to Shark Typhoon, I would imagine. And I can imagine Heliod's Intervention is going to be quite good as well. Stuff we'd like to cut. I can imagine the Elspeth Conquers Deaths are just going to be awful here. Maybe Dances as well. Elspeth's Nightmares didn't feel that good. And yeah, we'll cut a Dance. Anything else we want to cut? I think that looks okay. So Skyclave Apparition is going to be quite good in this matchup. Okay, so opponent's going first. So hopefully the Extinction Event can get us there with the 2 Scrylands as well. And we have Omen to buy us a little bit of time. I'm really happy we cut the Elspeth Conquers Deaths, knowing that our opponent left in their companion. I've seen quite a lot of the time that people will not use Lurrus as their companion in game 2 because they're sideboarding in cards that are CMC 3 or higher. Soul Guide Lantern's not going to be too great for our opponent, since we cut one of our dances and all of our Elspeth Conquers deaths. That being said, this is why it's so good. You can just cycle it. Can play it back with Lurrus as a late game value engine. Yeah, lands are fine, I think. So I presume our opponent's just gonna suit this up. Fortunately it's Flyer, so Omen's not going to be good at blocking this. What are we going for? I guess it's even, and we're planning on Extinctioning Event. Eventing. Are we planning on Extinction Event? Because they can just play Lurrus. But then what? Lurrus gets back Soul Guide Lantern. But we have to kind of force the issue. I think we are going to Extinction Event. I'm really not sure if that's correct or not. See, if we don't Extinction Event, we don't have an answer to this, and our opponent just keeps smacking with it, smacking us with it until we die. If we do answer it, our opponent gets to play Lurrus here and force us to have a second answer, which we don't. So I guess the plan is like Elspeth's Nightmares something if they bring that creature back. I'm just gonna eat away our graveyard and maybe Dance of the Mance. Our opponent tapped down though. Fortunately, we can block Lurrus for days. I think it's just going to be stall for a bit. It's a good little engine our opponent has going. Wonder if our opponent attacks here. They do. We're going to go for the double block. If they want to use a card to keep Lurrus alive, I think I'm happy with that. Oh! Did our opponent just make a mistake? I feel like you don't make that play, do you, normally? There's no way you attack with Lurrus there if you feel like they're gonna Omen. We've got nothing else to spend our mana on, so we will just Yorion into our hand, even though we have triple Yorion now. I don't think I want to scry with the Omen because I'd like to blink it if possible. Ah, that makes a bit more sense. We are just going to probably Extinction Event here, maybe. Yeah, we're just going to Extinction Event and put this Lurrus down. That being said, our opponent has a hand full of gas. So we could Omen if we hit land, cast Urion. But then if we Extinction Event next turn, it's going to hit our Urion as well. It feels bad because the Elspeth's Nightmare is going to be able to kill the token as well as get another card from their hand. I guess we haven't made land drop this turn, so we'll do this now. I guess we get to extinguish our opponent's graveyard. It might have been wrong to keep the land on top as well. Cling to Dust and Golden Egg. I don't think Cling's going to be very good, but Golden Egg's just a redraw. Makes all of our Urions a bit better. So opponent's going big on this one zombie. Fortunately, we just have a load of chump fodder. And it doesn't have lifelink, so it's not like widening the gap. Opponent is in a position where they could maybe give it pro white though. That's something we actually have to watch out for. I'm going to take the Extinction Event. Our opponent could give it pro-white next turn. I'm actually a little bit worried about that. Well, I guess if they gave it pro-white, it would all the enchantments would fall off. So I think we're actually okay. So unless our opponent can sort of cheese us out somehow, I think we're okay. So we just get to block here. Our dance is sort of locked down because they can sacrifice the Soul Guide Lantern in response. Just giving back extra blockers. I don't really want to get cheesed. So unless our opponent can somehow make this thing unblockable, I think we're in a position where we're going to win next turn. Our opponent can obviously answer like some of our creatures, but if we don't win next turn, we're certainly winning the turn after. I'm surprised at how well our opponent's deck can grind. Don't give it pro white. Pro red? They just want it in the graveyard? Pro red? They just want to get it back? I don't understand what the point in that was. Am I missing something? Why give it pro red and then just get it back? Are you just like flexing? They're just flexing. I reckon that's what they're trying to do. Unless I'm just being a complete idiot. And good game, opponent. That was far more grindy than I expected to play. Howdy guys, cheers for sticking around till the end of the video, watching some Yorion Sky Nomad Esper Doom Foretold. Wow, that is a long name for a deck title, but that's the name. I had a lot of fun playing this. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. Doom Foretold is such an awesome card. It feels like hot potato passing it back and forward. It's a really fun mechanic. The idea that you have to sacrifice something. Yeah, it's really fun. I enjoyed playing it. If you're considering taking something to your FNM, or maybe you're playing on Arena, you want something new to play in Standard, this is definitely something that I would recommend. You could also play a historic version of this list as well. Although I think most of it's going to be quite similar, there's definitely some upgrades you could make. You could head over to MTG Goldfish. I'm sure there's plenty of people on YouTube that are giving Esper Doom Foretold lists in historic and standard, so yeah, check any of them out. If you guys did enjoy the video, like I mentioned at the beginning, please consider dropping it a like and subscribe if you can be asked. If not, don't worry. Cheers for just sticking around, being part of the video. It really does mean a lot. Your support does mean a lot. But yeah, guys, cheers. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will catch you next time.